This is the Café con Podcast.
It's nice to see you, Don. It's
Feels
good.
like
I
it's been a
haven't seen
while.
you in a minute.
Feels like it's been a while.
What's up? What's up, Evil? What's up,
Chilling,
Don?
chilling. You know, I got the cafe sweater on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I feel it. Me too, bro.
Hey.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm Isaac,
And I'm George.
and
This is the Café con Podcast.
whoa, boy. So we're kind of recording this intro posthumously after the fact that we did the guest that we have, but the guest we have is none other than Nicholas Brian Rodriguez. He is a scout for the Cincinnati Reds. He is one of the OG, one of our the Fab Five, the core Fab Five from the crew. He's our brother. He's our good friend. He's a man of true words. Somebody who has one of the biggest hearts that I know. One of the best people I know.
Took the words out of my mouth.
An amazing guy. He's an amazing guy. I honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, don't remember what we talked about. I know that I remember we talked a lot about the process of his job, because he got this scouting job not too long ago, probably like a year ago, if that. But I don't want to get too much into that. I'd rather people hear it. The thing that I want to say about it is how he's inspired my life, because he goes always after what he loves to do. And that was something that I hope got across from us to him, is how inspirational he's been for us in our core group of friends, because, you know, sometimes life happens and you forget to continue doing what you want to do, but he always has made it a priority to sometimes live two lives, you know, doing a day job and going after what he wants to do. And now his day job is what he loves to do. So, I mean, I just always look up to him for doing that. And on top of that, he's always been the same. It's always been the same since I've known him, bro. Since the jump, he's been the same. What do you got? What you got to say about Nicholas Brian Rodriguez?
I mean, before I go on and speak my piece, I actually went to go play golf with him 2 days ago, and what we were saying right now about he's been the same. He made like a funny face when we were on the golf course, and I was like, Nick, bro, you did the same face you did when we were like 9 years old, bro. And he's like, for real? I'm like, yeah.
Bro.
You've never changed, and please don't, bro.
No, he's the best.
Yeah, we recorded a little while ago. I did do some editing on the episode, so it refreshed my mind on what we spoke on, and I think his main message was just grind, right? He comes from a background of a hardworking family, and just the way he played the sport of baseball growing up, or any sport in general, was just so grind. And he's dealt with a lot of adversity in his life. You know, things didn't probably go the way he thought they would 100%. None of us do, but he stuck to the path of what he was passionate about, you know, which is family and baseball and just sports in general. And I just remember when I was editing it a couple nights ago, he's okay with adversity. I think he's become comfortable with it, and he's willing to just, you know, use it as fuel to bounce back. And, you know, even when some people in his own life told him like, hey man, you should maybe just put that dream aside of you know, being in the baseball world and just carry on with life, and he didn't. He stuck with it. He stuck to his guns. Even something like, you know, for a lot of times he was doing things a lot for free, you know, working at certain baseball teams and certain organizations. And the like we said, he's got the biggest heart, I would say, out of our group of friends. And
agreed.
When he's passionate about something, he's going to keep it in his life, you know, whether it's friends, family, sports, you know, any passion in general. So that's
agreed.
That's my 2 cents.
Beer. He gets real passionate about beer.
He's grown. He's grown though. He's grown. I mean, the guy's doing marathons now. People, you know,
yeah,
he's getting ready for a half marathon now. You know,
Ghana, my man is getting into the silver fox stage of life.
He really is.
My boy's looking like he's running through a field of snow in the hair. You know what I'm saying? He's getting to that.
It's coming with a lot of wisdom.
Point where he's got that nice sun-kissed tan, But that hair right there looks like a little bit of sea foam running through it. My man's been running through the ocean.
And like you said in the
So-
episode, we crack at him because we love him, and
He's the man. He's the
like
best.
he said, maybe this is the episode that makes us pop off, and like
Yo, he's the best, bro. He's the best. All jokes aside,
all jokes aside,
he's the best. Enjoy it. This is for sure a just a sit down and spit with your boys type of thing. That's it. And in case you forget, give it a second. Give it a second.
This is the Cafe con Podcast.
that's smooth.
That's smooth as butter.
The liquid gold, baby.
Okay. This is the coffee review time. This is where we review the coffee that we drank on the episode. I don't remember what coffee I drank on the episode, so I'm just going to review coffee in general right now. I love coffee. It's a wonderful thing. I had 2 cups of coffee today. Coffee this morning, and I had coffee in the afternoon. I give coffee 10 out of 10. And today, my coffee, the both of them that I had, I don't know. Today I'm feeling a little sluggish, so I give them like a 7.2 for the coffees that I had today.
Okay.
Because this time change is just messing up my like energy. The time change, I just feel like by 3:30 p.m. I'm dead. Like look at my eyes. I'm like, so. Anyways, that's what I have to say about coffee. Love coffee. Think it's really good for you. It has good antioxidants. Unless you drink like 8 cups of coffee a day, then we need to talk about something else. But a couple cups of coffee is not that bad. I think it feels nice. Drinking some coffee makes me feel good. Makes me want to talk. Gets the bowels moving. Gets everything going inside me. So enjoy coffee, guys. Coffee's cool. Feel some conversations as well. Good combos.
Coffee is cool.
Now you say what do you want to say about coffee?
I mean, I kind of remember that day actually. I mean, because I watched the video back recently, and for that day, if I had to be honest, I'd probably give it like an 8.2.
Wow.
It was a great conversation, man. It was a great conversation.
Dog, you've been rating these coffees high lately.
I mean, I'm not getting coffee from certain places that are not distinguished, so. But we won't name these places. We won't name.
I want to know what constitutes an undistinguished place of coffee for you. That's what I want to know. What's distinguished and not distinguished? What are the rules for that?
I saw a video one time and someone said it. If you burn the coffee.
Oh, all right.
Which a lot of establishments do that.
Oh God, yeah. But I love a good burnt. Sky and I always talk about this on the airplanes. We're gonna get some nice burnt coffee that's gonna send us to the moon. That coffee on airplanes hits different.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Listen,
burnt.
Burnt coffee is better than no coffee. Let's be honest.
That's true. Amen.
So I'm not trying to throw too much shade. If I would name these places. But I guess if it's burnt, if it's watered down.
Yeah, no, I don't like the watered down. That's
just
I'm
lazy.
right there. I'm with you on that one. If I get a coffee and it does nothing to me, I'd rather it be burnt. I'll take the burnt over the watered down. Yeah, of course, because burnt at least is going to take me somewhere. Watered down isn't going to do anything for me. So I agree with you there. All right, that's a solid review. I think that's a good little cafe review. Enjoy the episode.
Cheers!
Oh! I think that's the first colada we've ever had.
Damn, that is the first colada.
Haven't had one of these in a while. I'm gonna be bouncing off the walls here in a little bit.
Yeah, you are, baby.
Bounce, baby, bounce.
Bounce. Okay, so Nick, we already know. Okay, we know you are a scout for the Cincinnati Reds. We know you went to college to play college baseball. We know that.
What position, Nick? Tell him.
Bat boy. We know that you.
Let Nick tell the people.
But what I was gonna ask is, who is Nicholas Brian Rodriguez? Who is Nicky V?
Nicky V? Man, nobody's ever called me Nicky V.
That's kind of cool.
Nicky Bobby, different, but
Nicky Bobby.
I mean, Nick Rodriguez, bro. You guys know me. I mean, I'm the athlete. I'm the baseball guy.
I am the athlete of the group.
That you just missed Ellie De La Cruz. She doesn't care.
No, but I mean, I'm gonna be laughing this whole freaking time. There's never a time that I could just talk because I'm gonna be laughing the whole time. No, man. I mean, just sports, right? That's who Nick Rodriguez has always been. Like, all I do is I care about sports. I played sports. I coach sports. But I think the other thing is like inspiring and kind of trying to like help others, like through like hard work and work ethic.
Yeah, that's true.
Family man.
Yeah, this is what I've done. Just put my head down and work. And I hope that like my nephews and nieces see it. Obviously, we always talk as boys like that. You guys see it. So like that's what I like. Is I don't want anybody to ever look at me and be like, "That's a lazy ass, guy over there." Like I want everybody to know this is a hard working dude that gets after it and trying to inspire as many people as possible.
Damn.
Luckily, my stuff is through sports because I mean baseball is like my life.
Well, you built it. It's not lucky. You built it.
You built it.
Yeah.
You got yourself to this point.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it now and like it's kind of crazy the journey. Like just going from little small day Christian, like obviously we know what that is because going to school there and then getting a scholarship to go play at a school in Tennessee and not knowing what the heck to expect. Like it's kind of a crazy journey. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool.
That's a great. Hold on, I'm just making sure that I'm in focus, dude. All right, so I was actually, George, that was something that I was going to start doing because when we intro our people, we usually do our intros before, obviously, but like I kind of want to start asking people who they are when they come on. That was something that I was thinking. I was like, we know this, that, and the other. So the truth of the matter is I was doing it facetiously. I was trying to be funny about it. But, we've known Nick since, when did you go to DCS? First grade?
Second grade.
Second grade.
7 years old?
Yeah, since we were 7 years old. We all went to the same school, 7 years old. So we've seen exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting you to get that deep so fast, but I think you're 100% right on, bro. Inspiring. We talk about it all the time, and it's funny. You're talking about the lazy thing. You don't want people to look at you like a lazy ass because I don't want people to look at me like I'm a lazy ass either. But sometimes I feel so lazy.
Yeah, but lazy when you're in different times that, like, if you're just kicking it or if you've already accomplished XYZ thing or like that. I mean, bro, I haven't done anything the last 2 weeks. I've sat in this same spot the last 2 weeks and I haven't done anything. I've been working on my, my iPad and just little things just to keep me busy. So, like, it's needed, but it's like the ultimate part of that of you is just, all right, you've already reached whatever XYZ little goals that you have to continue to help you progress in whatever journey you're trying to get on. Like, you're just trying to progress. So after that, yeah, you can be lazy and you can take a break.
How do you do your goals? Do you do it every year? I don't know if we've ever talked about this. This is so weird.
I mean, I do them. Yeah, I do yearly, but I'm personally the smaller things work out better for me. Like accomplishing smaller tasks or goals, and then oh shit, I hit the big one. That's a cherry on top. That's how I kind of approach it.
Yeah, but how do you reiterate on your goals? Do you do they just kind of come up out of nowhere and then you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's something that I want to do? Or do you have to like sit down and think about it? Because for me, it kind of like, for instance, same thing with you, George. I don't know if I've ever asked you that, but I don't do like New Year's resolutions. I usually it kind of just comes, I don't know, like after the new year start. Everybody's always kind of when you're at the end of the year, you're kind of looking back on your year and you're thinking about everything that happened and all that stuff. And my birthday's around there, so I think about it. But I don't, it's weird for me with goals. Like I have always wanted to be somebody who sits down and makes goals. But if I do that, I don't know. I don't go after them. It's like the little things, like what you were saying. I think more of like daily goals is what I do. I don't know.
Yeah, in my personal life, like to sit there and say, hey, like, let me put 6 goals for the year that I want to accomplish. Like, I've tried that and it doesn't work personally because I just feel like it's, oh yeah, I want to lose 15 pounds. Well, I could do that in a month if I really wanted to, and then I accomplish that. So like, I don't do that. I just do more like, okay, there's the big goals, like buying a house. Let's use that for example. Like,
Yeah.
I really want to buy a house. Okay, well, in order for me to buy a house, like monthly, like I got to be hitting this every single month. And then if the situation presents itself to buy the house, great. But I think I've accomplished more by doing the little things each month. That's how I kind of look at it. And I sit down and I write it down and I look
That's
at
the
it.
way
I'm
to
a
put it.
huge visual person. Like, I have to, like, I literally on my phone, on my notes or in my notebook, like I just have to look at it. And then boom, it kind of puts me back into gear.
Yeah. What about you, George? I don't know if I've ever asked you that. Are you a goal person?
I would say I'm more along the lines of what Nick's saying. I mean, like in New Year's, there's maybe like 2-3 things at the most that I like say in my mind. Usually, it's just like keep working out or work out more, and like take on maybe a healthy habit, like drink more water with Himalayan salt, like little things. Nothing like I I don't know if it was Tom Brady or something, but it's like if you have like little like they call it like winning habits or like championship habits, then the bigger things will kind of revolve around that, right? So I think it's just the little things. Maybe when I get older and I have like a family and stuff, then I'll start like thinking of the major goals in the forefront of my mind. But I think it's just the little things first, and then you can let that snowball into the more macro goals. But not really. I mean, but I would say, yeah, like it's maybe just 2 or 3 things. That's it.
I have a question along these lines because I had this conversation with my dad and my brother-in-law a while ago. Do you guys think that the body follows the mind? Like, if you're in a rut, do you think the body follows the mind or the mind follows the body?
Um,
How do you get yourself out of a rut? Is it mental or is it physical? And
Physical.
what do you think, George?
I think it's case by case. For me, it's mental. The body follows the mind. For me, at least.
Interesting. I'm
As a-
I'm physical also. I think
Yeah.
it's
because
physical.
I look at it as, and you and I, Isaac, I think I've talked about this before. Like I'm active, right? Let's just use the active part, right? We're all active. We all do
Yeah.
stuff. But like working out for me it's cool. Like if my body looks right, but it doesn't do that for me. Like it helps me mentally. Like it
Yeah.
clears me up
Yeah.
so much. Like, and I'll just use an example. Like going for a run yesterday, a 1.5 mile run. Like I got back and I had way more clarity on what I needed to accomplish throughout the day versus today. I woke up this morning and we went out for dinner with my sister and didn't really care to work out, and like I'm super cluttered on the
Yeah.
day. Like I don't even know what to accomplish. All I knew was I had the podcast at 2 o'clock. That's it. Like
Yeah,
I haven't really accomplished things, and that's one thing. And I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but like when I was doing 2 jobs and things like that I really struggled with was not working out, because that would have helped me manage all the shit that I had going on mentally throughout my day. And then I started to see now, whereas I am so much more at peace and even working out through my new profession and like my new job, that I am so much more relaxed. I'm so much more clear. I don't have those little days that it's like, man, like, what are you doing? Like, are you getting anything out of today? Like, I don't have that anymore for the most part, because
awesome.
it comes,
Awesome.
yeah, it
That's
comes with
awesome, bro. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. Let's get into it. I was going to talk about something else, but let's get into that. Okay, so what do you do, Nick? I said it earlier facetiously. We know you're a scout for the Reds, but yes, you're a scout for the Reds, which is fucking huge. That's not a small feat, bro. Like ever since we were little, come on, dude. Nicky shin splints, all right? Ever since we were little, Splitter over here loved baseball, and he always wore my God, his pants were 3 sizes too small every time he played. So I knew he had to go into coaching, because I was like, there's no way that guy can run, or else they're about to split those pants. So,
But I feel like
anyways.
Nick is not to interrupt, but I feel like Nick's always been someone that's he looks out for more than just himself. Like when he's on a team,
Yeah.
he gets the team going. He gets the team
Bro,
going. You know,
he's a dad. He literally loves, the dude has the biggest. Okay, so George, Nick has the biggest heart in the world, right? And I think that George Michael wears his heart on his sleeve. I would say that's kind of like the difference between both of you. Not saying you don't have a big heart, George, but Nick's
I
is
would say
like
Nick has.
secretary.
I would say out of all of us, out of a group of friends, Nick has the biggest heart.
100%.
Nick has the biggest heart.
100%. I agree. There's
And then I'm
no
the one
doubt
that,
about
and
that.
then I'm the one that wears my heart on my sleeve the most. I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
Yes, no doubt about that. Okay, and then, anyways, let's get into it now, Nick. We've always known that you love baseball, pelota. You love it, dog. How? Well, first off, what do you do? Tell us what you do.
So currently, I'm a professional scout for the Cincinnati Reds, which is so crazy to think about because obviously
That's wild.
So
Saying
cool.
that out loud.
That's so cool.
and I'm gonna put
Wild, bro.
Throws it on the table. Throw your nuts on the table, bro.
I'm gonna put it in perspective too. Like
So cool.
it is, man. I love it. It's awesome. Because growing up, being a professional baseball player was all I ever wanted. Like I didn't care what was in front of me. Like that was the goal. Hey, all right, boys, you guys are going to the Bahamas for the weekend. Sorry, I love you guys. I got a baseball tournament. I'm not going, or whatever it is. So everything was kind of in that path. And then reality, life, you're not good enough, or just not the plan for you, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, let's keep working. And then now to make it as a professional employee, it's kind of like full circle, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, so I work for the Reds. I'm the South Florida area scout. So basically, I cover the East Coast of Florida all the way down to Puerto Rico, and then I have a little bit into Fort Myers. And then my main responsibility is to, in a cliche way, is put the Reds in the best position in South Florida. But in simple terms, identify any prospects that are in the area and present them to the organization, and that's it. And then you move from there.
Nick,
I have a question.
Like the beginnings, obviously, like an intro, like we know the answers to some of these, but it's more so whoever's listening just to get an idea. So before this, you were a hitting coach, correct?
Yeah. So before, I was a recruiting coordinator and assistant coach at Nova Southeastern. So I was there for 5 years. I was the hitting coach, and then the guy that recruited the whole team. Which,
so you were giving out the bags. You were giving out the NIL bags before NIL.
No NIL because at our level, it wasn't as big. But
just kidding, bro.
You talk about like scouting and kind of why I got into it that way. Like my job was to recruit and build a team. It was freaking awesome. I loved it. I mean, you get to build the relationships and honestly change somebody's life. Give them the opportunity to go play college baseball.
And you were like a counselor also, dude.
Yeah.
From some of the stories that I would hear you talk about. Bro, it's so crazy how, and you and I talk about this a lot, Nick, that a lot of times you sign up for a job and you're not just doing that job. There's like a lot more stuff that you do that comes with it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? I mean, bro, you changing somebody's life can be as easy as like, hey, I know you're far from home. Let me take you out for dinner. We'll go out for dinner once a week because I know that you don't have your family here and you can see that this person's sheltered and he's feeling homesick. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
No doubt.
I know you did that for a lot of kids. That's why it's just crazy, bro. That whole thing.
No doubt. I joke with a lot of people and they're like, oh, well, the college game until you make it to the Power 5 level, right? The University of Miami's, the Floridas, all that.
Yeah.
Like you don't make money.
SEC, all that stuff.
SEC, like, you don't make money. Like it's a grind. But then I start thinking about it. I'm like, to these kids, you're everything to them. You're their hitting coach. You're their psychologist. You're their nutrition coach. You're their best friend. You're their enemy at times. You're somebody that they need to, like console with. Like they're going through things. Then you're also your educator. Like you're trying to help them get through school. Like, hey, I'm struggling. And then on top of that, like you're also their coach. So like you play so many different hats. And that's why I think being in the college game is one of the best things out there, from that standpoint, if that's who you like to be. If you're just a very like transactional and you just want to move as fast as you can, like that's a whole different world. But it is. It's very impactful with these kids because it's opportunity. So yeah, so Nova, and then before that, where I played college ball, that's where I started coaching, which was in Tennessee.
I have a question about when you. So you got a scholarship to go play at Tusculum and not be a NARP, right? You were not a NARP. Which, for those of you that don't know what a NARP is, it's a non-athletic regular person, apparently. So guess what? We're all fucking losers to athletes. That's basically what that means.
Sorry, guys.
Well, I should not. I'm an athlete. So
I mean, you play intramurals, right, in college?
me? Yeah, hell yeah,
That
bro.
counts then.
I
That counts then.
played
Counts.
ball, baby.
That counts.
Ask Kyle about our basketball squad.
You guys,
all right,
that
we
counts.
were undefeated. I will never forget that. But we didn't go to the playoffs because I think we missed the game and we had to pay a fine. And I was like, I'm not paying a fucking fine for an intramural sport for missing a game. I'm like, this is stupid. So we we were also smoking pot. Anyways, so yeah, it was college. Okay, so you got a scholarship to go play at Tusculum, and then you said the transition from that to where you are now. The question that I was going to ask was, how hard is it to stop playing baseball? You said that was your dream. Like, what was that like? Was there a sense of relief? Was it disappointing? Was it hard? Like, I don't know. We don't talk about it like that when we get
honestly
together.
not many people really ask. I don't talk about it because for me, once I knew that I had put everything. Okay, we talk about goals. Let me start out with this. We talked about our goals. My goal was to play college baseball. Like, that was my first thing. Like, I had no other option. Like, I wanted to play college baseball, and then obviously that would help me for pro ball.
And you switched schools, high schools also, which is something else that I wanted to get into. That detail was like, we'll get into why you switched schools. Or let's just get now. Why did you switch schools?
Yeah, so, well, because you start to understand the game within the game of how do you get to these programs? How do you get to these schools? Like, and I'm not trying to say this to anybody out there that it's like, oh, you can't just be really good and not get looked at. Yes, there's those guys. But the norm is, now that I'm older and now that we're all older, like, you understand, like, there's connections involved. There's being in the right place, the right time, playing on the right teams. Like, and not to dive too much into it, but like, my dad only knew the surface level of like, all right, where do you want to go play, Nick? Oh, Dad, my friend has a team here. Can I go play here? Yeah, we'll go play. Okay, and then you're playing a couple tournaments. But when you really look at it, like, the team you needed to be on was, let's just use a local team for conversation, Elite Squad. Like, they're playing in all the best tournaments. All their kids are continuing to play college baseball at the bigger programs. Like, that's the route you need to go, because at worst case scenario, you're still going to get a fallback to a smaller school like Barry or Nova or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have that. I just played wherever just to play and just keep grinding and stuff like that. So within that time at Day Christian, right, it's a small school. Like, our coaches there weren't really pushing college players. Like, if you really look at over the course of the 5 years, from 8th grade to my senior year, to our senior year, like, 2 baseball players played college baseball,
and we
were stacked.
We
we had guys that were very, very good. Then we also had guys that started to realize, oh, that there's not much growth here. I need to go to Pace, Archbishop McCarthy. So that's when it started opening my eyes, and then I tried convincing my parents, convincing them, and just growing up in Day Christian since 2nd grade. My mom teaches there. My sister goes to school there. My cousins went to school there. Like, my mom was against it. Like, public school? Oh, no, that's too big for you. Like, that's too much of a world that you're going to be exposed to that you don't know what's there. Oh, okay. So, right? So that didn't happen. I had a hell of a junior year, and I only had one college reach out to me. Like, a small school in Pittsburgh, right? So, nothing. If I would have had that same year at a bigger school and with some more coaches, let's just say FAU. FIU,
right?
The smaller schools, I guarantee you, would have came creeping in because of the relationship. So, all that being said, at the end of the junior year, I finally was telling my mom, not my dad, forget my dad, my mom, I want to go to American Senior High School down the street. This is where my hitting coach and, like, guys that I train with that are all really, really good baseball players, they all have even chances to get drafted. So, like, I want to be in that environment. Well, it just took too long to convince her. And I remember we went to American High, met with the principal, and convinced my mom, like, was like, hey, your son's going to be fine here. AP classes, everything, we're going to be good to go. And school day Christian had already started. So because school had started, there was that in-between period that if I would have transferred my junior year, it was actually my junior year. If I would have transferred that year, then I would have been ineligible because of high school rules, whatever. So after that, then my mom finally said, okay, you could transfer your senior year. And I had an awesome experience. And at that time, more schools started reaching out. I had Barry, I had Miami-Dade, I had Broward, I had University of Maryland as a walk-on spot. Like, I had different.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I had a lot of other opportunities that started to present itself that I feel like if I would have had that my junior year, it would have opened up a lot more doors.
So why did you decide on Tusculum?
Because they gave me a full ride.
All right, that was an easy answer. So
Free education, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it was an opportunity. I had a chance to play as a freshman right away, which I did.
La jevita que estaban ahí in Tennessee.
So I was
You're
like,
the
all
only
right,
tan I see. So, all right, you get to Tusculum, right? And let's get back on track to the question that I asked, where you eventually, you're playing there. You kind of take on, like what George was saying, that you always cared for more people. You start to see your ability as a coach, right? Like the player coach role. So back to the question, George, when you were letting your dog out, what I asked him was was it hard for him to leave? How was the process of leaving being a player and going to what he's going into now? Right.
Yes.
That's why we started back at Tusculum. So then you're in Tusculum, you're playing. At what point did you kind of see that you were diverting away from playing, or did you realize, because you accomplished your dream of playing college ball? So what was like the next phase of that?
So my junior year ends. I had a really good junior year.
You had already met the love of your life at this point.
Yep. That was that year. So I had a heck of a year. That year was fun. Like, I played really well. So I come back from my senior year and start off okay, like just kind of in the fall. And like, I don't know, I was struggling. Like, I was always battling, just like my whole life has always been like, yeah, you had a good year, but we're still going to bring in somebody above you, or we're still going to do this. So, you know what? So I was, whatever, hey, let's go. So I battled. I got the spot again. I play my senior year, but I struggle. The up and down. I'm not playing every game like I was my junior year, so I'm struggling. And kind of just reality hit. It's like, all right, I'm hitting 280 as a senior, like at a Division II school in Tennessee, which, right, we have some guys that play pro ball, but the reality is, it's just not very likely. Like, I'm going to have to go the independent ball route. And I always said that I didn't want to do that. I said if I didn't make it to professional baseball and if I didn't get an opportunity that way, I'm okay with hanging it up and moving on with whatever it is.
Why didn't you want to do independent?
I just didn't want to do the chase.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
So it's semi-professional baseball.
So it's not minors. It's not like the farm
different
system.
affiliate.
Okay, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, you could get signed as a free agent out of these leagues and stuff like that. But again, it's just you're continuing your dream as long as you can. And personally, like, I had put so much into getting to where I got to that, not that I didn't want to continue doing that, but I wanted to start already my hard work and my ethic and my work ethic into the next chapter, which I knew I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to be involved in the game somehow. So around that, like I said, my senior year, I was like, okay, and I enjoyed my senior year, and it was tough. And once it was over, I was like, okay, I'm good. All right, what's next? And I didn't know, and just kind of reaching out, trying to look at some jobs here, and then that's when my coach presented with the opportunity to come back and get my master's and be a coach on the staff
at Tusculum.
Oh, so they offered that to you. You didn't like ask them to go into coaching?
I didn't. No. I mean, my recruiting coordinator, the guy that recruited me, that's the head coach now, he was like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I want to get into professional baseball, which is crazy that I wanted to get into professional baseball in a front office role. So I had looked at like internships of baseball operations and things like that. But I just like being on the field. And you guys know how I am. I'm extremely competitive. Like in everything, even with my wife on a daily basis.
But so is she. She is.
And that's all I know how to be. Yeah, and that's all I know is just be competitive. Like, there's winners and there's losers. Which one do you want to be? Like,
Yeah, you're either first or you're last.
Exactly.
Hell, Ricky, that doesn't even make sense. They're second. Shit, there's even third.
I was high when I said that, Ricky.
Okay. Yes,
And,
you're right. Continue.
So yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I even lost where I was going with it.
Okay, you were very competitive. You didn't want to do. You want to be on the field, is what you're.
Oh
saying.
yeah, so I love that part of like working with players and then like letting them go play and then seeing that and being around that and like that I guess you say like fueled me. Was that I enjoyed that. So I was like, all right, and I already knew like this is a profession that you don't make money and it's a grind, but it's about passion and it's about impacting lives. The only reason I got to where I was or where I am today is because of coaches that impacted me. Like my parents did a lot. I never take anything away from them. Mm-hmm. But the coaches that I had in my life were huge in my development as a man and as a coach. So I wanted to do that. So I started coaching.
I've thought about like 17 things. So that's interesting where you say it's not about money, it's not about, it's about impacting and all that stuff. Because it's true, bro. I mean, I think that's kind of like in everything that each one of us are in right now. It's if we thought we could make money at it at the beginning of going after it, I don't know. I didn't think that I could make like an exorbitant amount of money from doing what I'm doing. I just knew that I wanted to make a living from it because I loved what I did. George, Did you think you could make money from what you're doing right now when you first started? Was that even in? Yeah, it's like
I didn't even know you could make a career out of it, let alone make money.
Same with me, because I think where we come from, I think maybe sports is a little more widely accepted, but certainly the arts where we come from, I was like, as Matthew McConaughey, and I've said this so many times on here, Matthew McConaughey always says, it wasn't even in the vernacular of my dreams. It's not in the vernacular of my dreams. Where I'm from, it's like, it didn't make sense. Anyways, the question that I was going to ask, so your coach brought you this opportunity. You said that you were competitive. Now, okay, I'm going to jump around here a little bit. Because you said you like working with people and seeing them do what they do and having them improve and stuff. I don't even know what your literal day-to-day, how does a scout talk to somebody? I don't know.
We talked about it the other day, dude. It's the best shit ever.
Yeah. Hold on, let me get some. I need some water.
Okay, well, hurry up, bro, because I just asked a question and you just left the screen. Come mierda, bro. What the fuck? Dog?
And I'm back.
All right, thank you. God.
So,
like, I don't even know what a conversation is. How do you approach them? How do you contact them? Literally, how does it happen? I know you go to a field. I seen Moneyball where they're standing on the fence and are like, damn, this guy's got a cannon, but when you have a conversation, do you walk up, you're like, hey, fulano de tal, bro, I see you out there, dog. You're doing good. What do you? I don't even know. But
Nick, start even before you get to the field of more so of like meeting with like your team of the Reds and what, like, you know what I'm saying, like the process before you even get to the field, like A through Z if you can.
Yeah. So you have a philosophy, which that's where it trickles down from, right from the top. We have a scouting director that. And I'll touch on that really quick.
Don't give any trade secrets that you can't say. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
No, very general. But just the way it works for people to understand and you guys understand as well is like you have your scouting director, right? Like that's the one that oversees the whole scouting department and decides on who we're taking. Then you have your national guys. Those are guys that are running all over the country and cross-checking every single area of the country. Then you have your regional guys, right? So like our regional guy covers Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Okay? Then you have your guys on the ground.
Which is
me, right? So you're on the ground, identifying for then the next guys to come in and be able to agree with you, disagree, or whatever the dialogue is. The process starts basically it could start as early as 2 years before they're draft eligible. It could start as early as 4 years.
What's the philosophy, though? You said about drafting philosophy.
Oh.
Give us an example of like a general drafting philosophy.
Yeah, so you it's just like in any athletics, you want athletes, right? So
Right.
you start with the middle of the field, right? You want your center fielder, your middle infielder, pitcher, catcher.
What?
That's where you start,
Wow.
and then you work off of that.
Wow.
Why is that?
Because those are the premium positions, right? Your center fielder is the one that makes the most plays because he has to roam majority of the field. Your shortstop is your premium defender, which covers the most ground on the infield because normally that's your best athlete. You put him at short, and the higher probability of balls going to that person. And then your catcher because he has to man a pitching staff, right? And then your pitcher because without a pitcher you can't win games.
Wow.
Then once you have that solid foundation, then you start bringing in the other bigger pieces because those are the guys that drive in runs, right? Those are the guys that produce, slugging percentage, produce extra home runs, produce doubles. So your Alex Rodriguez's of the world, your Big Poppies, your
Giambi,
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You can go on and on, like Giancarlo Stanton. Like those are all corner guys. So you start adding those guys to your nucleus, which is right in the middle.
I did not know that.
That's a general philosophy. Now, that's a general philosophy of just baseball.
Right.
Every organization is different. Every organization values defense more, offense more. They don't care about body physicality. They want physicality. I mean, everybody's different.
Yeah, it's like the Heat. I think about like the Heat, Heat culture and like the philosophy where they're like nastiest, meanest, best conditioned team on the court. We don't necessarily want people that are,
too fancy.
We don't need a
Paul George.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. We need people that are going to fit in that mold, that are going to dive for the ball.
Right.
Undrafted. We like the undrafted guys because they're underdogs. Like that's sort of whatever. Not to get on that tangent, but I guess is that where it sort of diverts kind of thing? Every team needs different things, I guess.
Yeah. Just for general conversation, like this is not giving away anything. It's just look at the two premium markets in the major leagues right now. You have the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees.
Let's go.
That both produce, right? They have a good farm system, but how do they acquire that farm
Free
system?
agents.
And paying.
Like
right?
less development
money,
and more
money.
like big spending.
They're big spending and
That's not all that's every sport though. Like you see you see like Real Madrid, you see all these teams like
exactly.
they're not really like grassroots. They're more so like we're gonna catch that player when he's about to peak.
Is there salary cap in football, in soccer? Is there salary cap or no?
No, I don't think. No, there's not. There isn't. But there's like fair play rules where technically you can't be you can't spend more money than you're making. Like or like it's like because then like you see all these Saudi Arabian investors. They're just throwing money into their team and they're not generating any money. So it's kind of like contradicting. So it's little things like that.
That makes sense. So because baseball doesn't have a salary cap.
No.
That's why.
So where's the checks and balances then? What keeps everything in check, or there isn't? It's just a free for all.
There's a luxury tax.
Yeah.
Okay, like an NBA.
But there's no salary.
Same thing in soccer. Like you can like probably you might lose some points throughout the season, so they'll notch you down in the rankings.
You lose picks.
For that, or you just pay a fine, some stuff like that.
Yeah. So just based like everybody's market is different. So. You could use the Reds, and I say this, I've only been with them for a year, but it's a very blue-collar, old-school, not a big money market team where we need to really bring in quality players at a younger age and develop them, and then maybe acquire one or two free agent type guys, at least from what I've observed.
Yeah. Nick, I've always known this, that you've had a great sports mind and baseball mind, but now it like really clicks because what you mentioned about those certain positions, you played those positions. You played shortstop and catcher. So I remember at one point you played catcher, and I was like, why is he playing catcher if he's like so good at these other positions? And then I realized what you're saying now. It's kind of like the quarterback on the field, right? The catcher.
Yeah.
Play caller.
You're the one that kind of runs.
You set the tone.
Team, like if you got a guy back there, the way we talk about it, like in the scouting world, is like you want a catcher that goes unnoticed, You don't even know he's back there.
Yeah.
That means that the game is running smooth.
There's no
If
mistake
the guy,
being done.
the guy can't catch the ball, or he's struggling, or he doesn't have control of the pitching staff. Like at the younger levels, they don't call the game. But once you get into college and professional and on, or I mean, pretty much professional, you're the one calling the game. So the flow of the game is dictated on how you're doing. So if you're not educated and you're not doing a good job, I mean, then the game could go sideways, and before you know it, it's 5-0 in the second inning, and you've lost control. So
Nick, were you doing anything growing up to like study the game and like understand it to the point to where you had coaches confide in you to be a catcher or shortstop?
I love that. I love that question because kids don't do it these days. Like, just watch sports. We're in a world, right? I know we're getting older, but we're not that much older, right? But you see kids now, and all they do is they're on their phones, and nobody goes outside to do anything. Or, hey, let's go watch the Marlins play. Like, I'll never forget this.
Well, come on. Wait. Bro, who wants to watch the Marlins play?
But back in the day, they were good.
I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding.
Back in the day, that's what we had. Luis Castillo, Alex
I know, bro.
Gonzalez,
Pudge Rodriguez, dog.
Pudge,
Come on.
Pudge.
Juan
Miguel
Pierre,
Cabrera,
bro. Yeah,
JP,
come on.
Josh
Jeff
Beckett,
Goal.
What
Come on, dog.
what a
D-Train,
good
Burnett, D-Train.
Dontrell Willis.
what a
Of course,
good run
dog.
of years right
Come
there.
on.
So, I remember
Jeff Conine. Come on.
just watching baseball. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I did was, or sports in general, but baseball. Like, and I remember, that's why I laugh thinking about this now, is I was playing coach pitch in Miami Lakes Optimus.
What does
Coach
that mean?
pitch baseball. Coach pitch baseball? Like,
don't
I
know
was
what
like,
that is.
oh, sorry, okay, my bad. So you have T-ball,
Yes.
and then you have coach pitch. Like
Why
the
the
coach-
fuck would I know what coach? I understand what it means logically, but when somebody goes, "Oh yeah, I played coach pitch," okay.
So
Yeah, the
growing up
coach
as
is
kids,
pitcher.
like,
so you were a little kid playing while the coach pitched, so he pitched softly, so you would be
yeah,
able to
yeah,
hit
yeah.
it.
And then after that, you go to like the kids are pitching, and then that's just like each year you
Got
progress.
it. Got it.
Like in rec ball, like rec stuff. And I remember Luis Castillo the night before dropped the bunt and ran to first, was safe. So here I am in the game. I drop a bunt down and I run to first, and everybody's screaming at me like, "What are you doing? Why? Like, hey, Nick, you got to come back. You can't do that." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because that's not allowed at this age." And to the point of they were asking me like, "Where'd you see that?" I'm like, "I just watched it on MLB. I saw an MLB baseball player do it.
Wow.
I just wanted to do it." And kids don't do that these days. Like, I'm going to watch my nephew play basketball last night. He's got all the skills in the world. But all he sees on social media is, oh, let me shake somebody. Let me try to be, the 3-point shooter. It's like, no, like watch the great ones play. Like, go watch an actual NBA game. Like, they're doing that in smaller capacity. Like, they're the best of the best. So, yeah, I just watch baseball as much as I can. I still watch it.
I was listening. I'm sure you guys listened to it too. The White Chocolate podcast with the OGs with Udonis Haslam and Mike Miller. And he was talking. They asked him. They're like, "Bro, how did you learn to do this?" Did somebody? He's like, he said these kids since they're little have trainers that they're training with, and the trainers have these cones set up, and they have this. I also listened to Jamal Crawford talking about this. They have all these drills set up for them weekly, so they have all of these skills and everything, but they have no imagination, right? So White Chocolate was like, I didn't have a trainer. I was a guy that would go to the gym by myself with nobody else there, and I would think, oh, if I'm pivoted here, right? If I'm like in this corner over here, if I'm on the timeline where I'm on my left foot and my left foot's my pivot foot, how can I get out of this? I would have to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, how would I pass? How would I have to pass? He would make up his own things. And then Jamal Crawford said he never did a cone drill in his life because there was never going to be a defender that was a cone. He goes, I can't go around a defender who's a cone because that's just not the way it is. Like, he's like, I used to be the guy that used to dribble with, the ball in my hands up and down the street, and I would like go in. You remember how we used to do that? It's like, little kids, juke people out in the middle of the street, and you're like, what is this kid's crazy? So, I mean, I think that happens a lot with social media. You're right, bro. And they say the AAU circuit, I love basketball. So I'm much more like basketball. Although I do love baseball too. You're always surprised too. Nick is always like, who's the second baseman? Blah, 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 blah. And then I answer and he's like, oh yeah, very good. Nice answer. And I go, yeah, because I actually do watch baseball. So it's just interesting to me because I think that because kids see all these kids that are getting coverage, like media
Yeah.
coverage and all this stuff. They're like, oh, that's what I have to be like. But it's I don't know, bro. You gotta just kind of make up your own style. That's the other thing too. Okay, so I did have a question about the catcher thing because I've never known this. Does the same catcher catch for the entire rotation?
Yeah, you have your primary guy that'll catch. Let's say there's 7 games in a week, he'll probably catch 5 of them, and then you have one guy will catch an off day or catch a game. The other guy will get an off day, and then
do pitchers have like catchers that they can request, like a specific catcher they want?
Yeah, you'll see it as the year goes on. Like some guys that will get really comfortable with each other. So like let's just use the Yankees. Like I've noticed every time that Garrett Cole pitches, Trevino's always catching,
which he hasn't been pitching that great lately.
Yeah,
but
so like there's as the year goes on, you'll see that. Yeah,
that's a very unique dynamic, right? Like a catcher and a pitcher, like the relationship. I feel like the only thing you can compare it to probably is like a quarterback and a head coach, right?
And a center, baby.
And
a center, yeah.
A
center and a quarterback.
And then that relationship gets established through spring training and the side sessions in the backfield where you're just playing catch, like all that, and at the end of the day, to be honest with you, you don't have really a say because if that's the catcher, that's your big league catcher. Like he's gonna catch if there's 162 games, he's gonna catch 100 of them. So and the way your schedule goes, it might not fall on his day that he's supposed to catch. He might be off that day because he just caught 5 days in a row. So you got the backup guy now. So you got to have just as good of a relationship with him.
And that is incumbent upon the people, and that's what we're talking about philosophy. See, to bring it all into a circle, you got to have the right guys. That's the thing. You got to have the right team. Bro, I think that's like with anything, dude. The older I get, the more I see in anything. A good team is dependent and incumbent. First off, it starts on the person up top, but if they don't have a clear image of what they want, it starts to get super muddy. And the more muddy it gets, the weirder it goes. Like look at the Dolphins, bro. Like the Dolphins, I mean, there's been a lot of talk right now about Tua and what he was saying about Coach Flo and everything. But I mean, McDaniel comes in and literally establishes a culture. And the thing that I like, well, he doesn't like using culture, but the philosophy of it, he doesn't let coaches go into the locker room. That's one thing he doesn't do. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting because he's like that's the players'
separation.
Yeah, that's the players. They need to be able to go somewhere where they can feel like they don't have to be talking to us. That's like the players' sanctuary.
The OGs were talking about that too.
Dog, it's
Udonis
important.
was like that. We policed ourselves in the locker room. Like if Pat Riley, like he would go to a player first and tell him like, "Hey, get that other player right." Before, like, I'm not gonna talk to him about what he needs to do.
That's the point. It's like you're with an army. You're not on the field fighting with them. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have them be the ones that are kind of with each other. And if you don't have that, I mean, I don't know, man. The older I get, the more I see all these teams that are really great. And I just understand how the great leaders just know how to talk to each person individually. And people don't want to take time to do that anymore. That's the other thing.
And I think also just kind of as you guys were talking about, I was thinking about it. Like, look at every good organization and every successful team. Like, there is a consistent message and a consistent process from the top down. And that's why everybody says, oh, it's a well-oiled machine. But when you really work and you fix it and get it to where it's supposed to be, then everything else just kind of happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that part. Once this part is identified and there's a clear understanding of what this needs to be, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within that, the people, you have to have the right people and the right personnel. Because if you don't have that, then this is going to get corrupted.
Aww. Look at
What the heck?
The heart, el corazón, papi.
This is going to get corrupted. Who did that?
What the heck was that?
No, do it again. Do it again. You got to go like that.
Is that Riverside?
No, I think that's his iPad. That's why it's doing that. Oh, let me see.
Yeah, that's his iPad.
So, yeah, and like
Crazy.
Love.
Look,
And
right.
that's the point. Is that everybody on the top should lead with love. That's what he's saying.
Nah,
Nick,
it's just
that's I like that you mentioned that though, because
Oh,
there's one
man.
organization that came to mind when you said that. And even though they're
Cleveland
like,
Browns.
they're no.
but and I'm also talking, not to interrupt you, but like we're talking about consistent success. Like they don't have to be dominating and then sucking. Like they're always in the
In the
hunt,
mix.
they're up, and then they're a
And
little bit
a-
down, but then they're right
There's
back.
literally a team, and not even a team, a program and an organization that comes to mind when you say that, because and they're not that great right now, but they're consistent about their identity. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
You know they're gonna have a.
He's
You know they're
never
gonna
had
have
a losing season.
Never.
Mike
Had a
Tomlin has
losing
never had a
season.
losing season.
never had a losing season, but you always know you're gonna get from them. They're gonna have a grimy, hardworking, blue collar defense, and they're gonna have an O line and D line that's just in the trenches about it. You know, and it
Look.
matches their culture as a city. So it's like
Spurs, baby. Same thing with the Spurs.
same thing.
Spurs.
Spurs.
I mean, and we could this one. I'll probably get a little pushback because they've just dominated. But Alabama football. Who's the new Alabama? Who's the new Alabama football in college football right now?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Where did Kirby Smart come from?
From Nick Saban.
From
Nick
the
Saban.
same tree and the same foundation he has implemented in another program.
Mhm.
And in that program, all he's done is find the right personnel, the right coaches, and then right after the right coaches, he found the right players. They identify, they go after the right players. They're one of, not to get into the whole NIL thing, they're one of the few programs that do the least amount of NIL deals.
Georgia?
Because you're showing these kids to be hardworking, go get it. You're going to get paid. You're going to come here because you're going to be a first rounder in the NFL.
Yeah.
You're not going to get paid now. You're going to get paid next year. 2 years.
Delay gratification.
And you see that consistency and just the process of what that looks like. And I even see it in professional baseball. Like you look at my peers and other teams, and you see the teams that are always drafting the right guys and the right players, and then those guys are progressing because of that foundation.
I have a question. Do you look at any other scouts and you're like, ooh, I like what that scout's doing. I'm going to take some sort of inspiration from that kind of scouts. Are you starting to look at that kind of stuff now that you're in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming into it, I knew a couple guys and like I had a decent relationship with, but only 2 people that were like my boys. So I was just coming in quiet and just observing. And in life, if you just sit back and you just watch, you're going to learn a lot without anybody having to tell you anything. And I just coming into this job, like right away, that was evident of, okay, like who's been here the longest and why are they been here the longest? And I just watched them and learned on that, and then conversations. So yes, to answer your question, yeah, there's bits and pieces.
But within your own organization, or you look at people outside?
Both.
Interesting.
Both.
That's very interesting.
In my organization, I mean, it's kind of tough because we're not around each other all the time, right? Like I only see my boss, like if this year I saw him once because we had a big time player in the area. I see some of the Nationals guys maybe twice a year. And then when we have we get together in our complex and stuff like that. But I'm on the ground with the area guys the most. So those are the guys you spend time
Okay, let's circle all the way back to what I first asked. So Tusculum, you got your master's, your MBA, and you were the hitting coach there. And obviously you transitioned from being a player to a coach. Was it hard? Was that hard having to say, I'm not gonna be a player? Did you look at it like, oh, I'm not giving up my dream, it's just transitioning, or I am giving up my dream? Did you look at did any of that stuff cross your mind?
Well, my first year, no, because my first year I looked at it as all right, I'm getting my master's, I can still have a little fun in college and enjoy being young. So I wanted to be there for the players as a friend, because some of the guys I played with,
yeah,
and some guys are new. So that year, no. But then the second year, it was oh no, I'm actually good at this stuff. I want to be, considered a coach and separate myself and, help them. In that same time, though, I was 23 years old. I'm trying to figure out, I wanted to get into professional baseball. That's why I did my master's. because I wanted it to open up doors to be in a front office. Like,
For people
how
that
can
don't
I
know, what
help
did you study, Nick?
Master's in Business Administration?
Okay.
And I wanted that to open the door to get into a front office so I can help a general manager build a team one day. Like, that was my interest. But at the same time, while being on the field, I was like, well, I got a chance to help this kid just gain confidence because he's going to fail. And I had trouble with failing. So I need to just help this guy be positive, be positive, be positive, and whatever. Like, the rest is history. So no, it wasn't that hard. Once I got into it, it was good.
I didn't ever feel from you, just when we would talk and just anything in general, like that it was like you were giving up anything. I never got the sense that you felt as though you had failed in anything. I didn't. I seriously, and I admired that a lot. Because you just kind of, you're always going after it. That's something else that we talk about all the time, even in the midst of having two jobs, which we might not even get into. By the, how you said, oh, we'll probably get into this, bro. We don't know what we're going to talk about when we start these things. We literally just sit here and we're like, let's just talk about whatever comes. But that, even when you had other jobs, you still kept your baseball hustle going. Right. Yeah. And that's something that we've always talked about, all as a group and in general. We have our boys chat, and it's funny because Sky, I remember one time we were working out on our honeymoon, and we were in Iceland, and we were working out. She had one earpiece in, and I had the other one because we were listening to music. And you know how Siri reads the text or whatever? I think we were like messaging each other, and Sky was like, "You guys have the most wholesome chat ever," because it's like our things are, "All right, boys, love y'all, boys. Y'all are inspiring. Keep going. Love y'all, boys. Keep crushing. Motherfuckers, keep crushing." Like
I feel like we embody like that meme where it's like, I bet he's out partying with girls, yes, and then it shows what we're really doing, and it's like the most wholesome shit.
Bro, it's funny. I don't know how that ended up happening, even though we do rank on each other pretty good too sometimes, which is good. And when Hugh chimes in, it's always like he's just asking the most random stuff, and I go, did you miss the other 10,000 messages that just happened right before? But it's you never struck me as that. George, I actually have never asked you, was it hard giving up soccer?
Before it happened, I thought it would be, but it was, but not as hard as, like I said, I thought it would be. I did so. And during the conference tournament, the playoffs, we lost in the semifinal my senior year. I cried. Like, I was like, dude, it hit me like a bag of.
In college? Was this in college or in high school?
Yeah, like a ton of bricks, bro. It hit me like, dude, this is the last time I'm gonna play at this type of level, like potentially. Luckily, we still got a draw into the tournament, into the national tournament. Yeah, it was kind of hard at first. Luckily, I had music, right? That was my outlet. So after some time, I came to grips with it pretty easily. It didn't hit me as hard as I said, I thought it would. Because you just got to move on, right? It's just, I think it's a reality check, because as an athlete, some people don't want to admit it, but you're living a fantasy. You're like we mentioned NARPs, like you walk on campus and you're like, I'm living the dream and I don't even know it until it's over, and it's a wake up call. It's a wake up call of like, okay, this part of your life is over. You kind of have to redefine yourself, but then you start to realize too that like, I was always more than just this sport, right? With this ball in my hand or at my feet. So it helps to have a support system, all those things. I think it's just way harder for those people that like reach the top of the top of the top, right? We hear these stories of retired athletes, and they struggle the most because it's consumed their life, where we've been lucky to have other things in our life, whether that's family, friends, so any type of support system. So it wasn't as hard as as hard as I thought it would be, but it wasn't super easy either. It was tough at first. Yeah.
I'll echo off that real quick, but like, cause I remember my senior year that the hardest part that I had was like the unknown. like, man, all I've done my whole life is just grind as a baseball player. Like, that's all I've done. Like, at the cage late night, extra reps, extra workouts, all this stuff. So it was like, man, like, what is next? And I cried like a baby. I remember my senior day. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like I got 2 more weeks of this, and that's it. And I remember halfway through my senior year, I was like, just enjoy it. Like you have accomplished more than you even could have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Like just enjoy it. And you know what? It's all good. And I think that's why I was at peace, after finishing, because I was like, I'm good. Like I already accomplished more than anybody expected Nick Rodriguez to accomplish. The little guy from Date Christian with the frosted tips in 5th grade that was never going to get to. Who was he going to get?
I thought you were talking about a coach. I was like, we had a coach that had frosted tips.
So like I know you're going to like that. So that's why I never bothered me of like. It was just the unknown of like, all right, what's next? But then that's it right away. Like it shifted gears of like, all right, what's the next grind? Like, what's the next thing we're gonna do? Like, how else do we figure this out? So I know exactly the same feeling you're talking about, George. Because
I would say it was definitely more nerve wracking, the recruiting process than actually like stop playing. Because I mean, Nick can attest to this too. Like him and I only got, I don't know, you only got an offer from Tusculum, right, Nick? Like, did you get an offer from anywhere else, like a full scholarship?
Just a couple, but smaller ones. But yeah,
I literally like on the 11th hour, I got a scholarship offer. Like everywhere else, I was gonna walk onto.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very nerve wracking. Of like, man, I've been playing at such a high level in high school and club soccer. Like, am I gonna be able to go somewhere like on scholarship? That was my goal. My goal was like, if I go scholarship somewhere, I've done good enough. So that was definitely more nerve wracking than having to stop playing after college.
Why was that the thought process? Is because you saw value higher in yourself than other people? Like why? Because you don't think people met or you didn't meet people's expectation?
No, it was just because I put so much time into this thing, and it's like I didn't want to pay for school if I knew I could go for free,
Yeah,
right?
I got you.
So like,
Yeah.
oh, you put all that time into something, and yeah, it was just all the time and effort you put into it, and how much you just love something, and then it's like anything you love so much, and it just doesn't, reciprocate it back. Then you're scared of the unknown in that sense.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
That makes sense because you put a lot of effort in. I mean, dude,
and you didn't want to stop doing it, Like,
yeah,
the last thing I wanted to do, and no offense to NARPs or anything, the last thing I wanted to do was go to school and not play soccer.
Yeah,
I probably would have considered. I don't think my parents would have let me, but I probably would have considered not going to school and just learning a trade and just working. That's just me. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I'm saying that now, but you get the mindset of like, I did not want to go to school and just have class and go back to my dorm, and we're like I didn't care to, and no offense to anybody, I didn't care to join a frat because the soccer team was a family, right? We were like a frat within itself. So there's nothing like being on a team, man. Like that camaraderie, like that locker room, like culture, like it's, you guys know about it. Like it's just, you're going to war with your boys, like we'll go out to a party, and if my boy did something wrong to somebody else, I could care less. I'm jumping in and helping him out, and I'll tell him later, like, "Yo, what you did was effed up. Like, try not to put us in harm's way." But when we're in public, like, it's a ride or die thing, Like we all know that as boys, So it's just, I can't even fathom playing a sport like the people that do like tennis and golf and stuff, like, and you're just by yourself. Like that's tough. It's easy to go to war with your boys. Like that's something that you look forward to, where it's like, if you don't have any like camaraderie, those are the real tough sports, in my opinion.
I think that is why I gravitated towards what I did, like in theater, because I always thought of it as like a sport. Because I grew up playing sports, I never had the physical aptitude to in order to be able to make it something where I could, and I just didn't give a flying, what to put in all the effort, which whatever it is, what it is. But whenever I like go on anything, on any set or in a play or whatever, I'm always like, this is like a team.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because a lot of people don't see it like that. You know, a lot of people see, even in sports, just in general, it's interesting. I kind of view my life. That's why I always explain to Sky, I'm like, sports are awesome because of everything besides the sport.
Yes.
The story of
life
sports. It's
Yes.
the story of sports is what is amazing about sports to me. It has nothing to do with the actual sport itself. Although I look at basketball, I'm like, that is poetry to me. You know, you look at certain things, honestly, every sport. I even got into hockey this past season. Let's go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
Yes, let's go. So it's one of those things that everything aside from the sport itself is what makes me interested in it. You know, it's the inside communication of a team, having to grow from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and the people that win, bro. I always cry, as long as it's not, you know, again. Well, I don't really care. If it's not the Celtics or the Patriots, I pretty much always cry at the end of whenever somebody wins a championship, right? Because it's the Celtics and the Patriots. I'm like, no, thank you. But everybody else, I'm like, oh, bro, I even though I fuck with Jason Tatum and I fuck with Jaylen Brown too. But it's just one of the it's just one of those things that I'm like, those two teams. Anyways, the point is, we watched the Super Bowl, and I'm like, bro, look at, because these people have put everything into, and their families have put everything into it. The people around them have put everything into it to be able to be where they are right now. And then guess what? You wake up the next day,
You gotta do it.
and you got to do it all over again.
Yep.
It's never ending, bro. There's never I've heard a lot of people, like all these Oscar winners, that they win an Oscar, and then the next day they wake up and they're super depressed because they're like, what am I supposed to do now? You know, what do I do now? Right? That's supposed to be the pinnacle of everything. And the older I get, the more, bro, I was literally writing yesterday, you know, because I journal a lot, and I was writing, how do I deal with days where I don't meet the mental expectation of what I thought I was going to do? Right? Because there's like sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? And then the days just like blend into each other. And the next day goes, and the next day goes, and the next day goes. And when I start to think like that, I start to get into that fog. Like you were talking about fog earlier. I start to get into that haze of, oh my God, a month and a half just passed, and I won 6 championships on NCAA. Who cares? You know what I was saying? I'm like, what just happened? You know, and so it's like that day by day. It really is just like, all right, let me just try and do something. That's why those goals, bringing it all the way back to the beginning, is important for me to do just like the day by day. Because when I start to think about everything as a whole, sometimes
it's a lot.
Very overwhelming.
A lot.
It gets very overwhelming for me to just be like, oh.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? So that's wild. All right, so to bring it in to something else, we could talk about the 2 jobs thing. How did you balance out the times when you this wasn't your main thing and you had to work another job?
I remember those days. Him and I we would speak about it. I'd speak to your dad about it too. Yeah.
Grind. Well, the goal, right? Like the main, since we're talking about goals, I can kind of tie it in. Like I wanted to coach. Like I wanted to coach and win. Like the challenge was, okay, you were a good, successful coach at Tusculum. All right. Where's the best Division II conference in the country? In the state of Florida. In our backyard where I grew up.
Really?
So I wanted to go. Yeah.
Oh.
Considered the best Division II conference because that's where the most national championships have come out.
What, Barry, Miami-Dade?
So you got Barry.
Stetson?
No, that's Division I. So you got Barry, Nova Southeastern, St. Leo, Rollins College.
Oh. In Orlando? Rollins in Orlando?
Yeah.
Oh, bro,
Tampa.
that campus is beautiful. God, I love it.
Yeah, it is very nice. University of Tampa, which is them and Florida Southern are the 2 like pillars. Like they're the ones that won the most national championships in Division II.
Wow.
So that was the challenge of like, all right, I want to go coach there. So I remember at the time, just to talk about my current wife, but at the time she was my girlfriend, and was like, all right,
who was
what's
your
the
previous
next
wife? Which one was
No,
your
I don't know. I don't know why I said it. But it was like, what are we doing next? Right? Here's life. What's next? And what are we doing? So she moved down here to South Florida. We're living here. We take the jump. I'm like, all right, where am I going to go coach? So I get the opportunity at Nova, and like that was like, all right, I wanted that. I really wanted that opportunity because I knew that just being the coach I was and the grinder I was going to prove, maybe it was more of a selfish thing, that I belong, which is what I've always had to do. Is like, all right, yeah, you're a good coach, okay, but now you can really prove it.
How did
So
you
I
get
wanted
that job? The Nova job.
So I was in Puerto Rico working for USA Baseball, doing an event.
Okay. How did you? Okay, I don't even know how you got the USA Baseball job.
Yeah.
I remember you worked for them, but I don't know how you got it.
So we'll take 2 steps back.
Okay.
So right after I left, so I was coaching at Tusculum for 3 years. Okay, I was I was the graduate assistant for 1 year, and then I got promoted to a full-time coach for the next 2 years.
While you were getting the MBA.
I finished my MBA in a year and a half.
Okay, so then a year and a half you were just a coach.
Yes.
Got it.
And then from there, I could have stayed on, continuing to be a full-time coach, but I wanted a change. Like, I didn't want to be in Greenville, Tennessee I was already there for 7 years of my life. So it was like, all right, I want to get back to Florida. Like, that's where the best baseball is. Florida, Texas, California. Like, I want to be in the heart of that. So we just took a leap, and I said, all right, pack the bags. We're moving. We're going to South Florida.
And what a boss. Just a quick break for Danae. Everybody, let's give a nice clap for Danae because she's from Ohio, went to school in Greenville, met Nick, and then moved to Miami. So clap for the real MVP because not only did she move to Miami, but she also married Nick. So clap for that.
No, but no, honestly, like all jokes aside, that's a true testament of like
100.
a true partner in life, right? Like there's must have, and at least probably in her mind, there was probably so many questions and like that weren't, there was a lot of unknowns, right? But she knew like, hey, I got a good guy by my side. He probably doesn't have all the answers right now too, but I trust him into his heart's in the right place and he's passionate about something. And when a woman finds a guy that's passionate about something, that they're gonna find a way to make it work in a sense.
I think there's a lot of things that have to go into that too, because it has to align with what she wants to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you guys are lucky, man. It's kind of
very
right timing.
I would not be able to do what I'm doing if I was not married to Danae.
Amen, brother.
Amen.
And I really believe that. And that's nothing to any other woman out there in the world or anybody else, how they go about their lives. It takes a special person to be with, in my profession, right? Like the college baseball ground. You're not home. I mean, I'll talk about here in a second about my professional life now, but like as a college coach, like your life is those kids. And if those kids want to stay after practice and hit for 2 hours and dinner's at 8, you're probably getting home at 9:30. Hey, love you, babe. Give you a kiss. She's going to bed. And then you're on the phone calling a kid out in California because you want him to recruit him here. So like it doesn't stop. And it takes a special patience and understanding of what your passion is. So we move. So she's like, all right, let's go. So we come down here, and in that time frame, I didn't get a baseball job. Like we just moved, and we were just gonna figure it out. I thought about trying the real world and just getting a regular job because Miami ain't cheap and Miami's expensive. So it was like, all right, what do I do?
And back then it was cheaper than it is now.
Exactly. And then living at home, like, growing up too, like my dad's always worked. So it was like, all right, you're on your own now, like pay the bills. Like, what are you going to do? So I was in that in-between stage, 25 years old, freaking in the prime of your life, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I go on a cruise to just kind of give you a little context, and I meet this guy that runs USA Baseball.
Wow.
And it's in Alaska. We're in Juneau, Alaska. And I'm just there, just like I talk to the wall. You can put the wall and I'll have a conversation.
Yep.
I start talking with the guy. Where are you from? What do you do? Oh, yeah, I'm here for once a year in the summer. There's a game in Alaska that it stays light out the whole day, like 24 hours. So they play the game at like 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning, something like that. And I was like, oh, wow, you're in baseball? I'm in baseball. Da-da-da. Exchange. Fast forward like 8 months later after following up. Hey, look, like we had somebody drop off from our team that works, USA and MLB, they partner together to run these events where there's prospects and guys that need to be identified. And it was like, all right, you okay to fly to Puerto Rico in a week? Sure, give me the stuff, I'll go. And I worked that, flew to Arizona, and I did events like that for about a year.
Can I ask a question really quick? When you would reach out to him, would you just like cold email? How did you stay in contact with him? What did you do?
Yeah, just a regular, hey, phone call. If I didn't get him, just left a voicemail, and then I would send a follow-up email.
And you'd be like, hey, man, just I wanted to let you know I'm still available, that kind of thing?
Yeah, just following up. Hey, man, like, I'm here in South Florida. Like, I'm able to relocate, travel. Like, I think this would be a great opportunity. Just want to follow back up.
Good shit, bro. I'm so fucking proud of you. Keep going.
Yeah, it was cool.
8 months.
And it was different. It was actually a different route, and I didn't know if I was going to like it because it was off the field. It was like away from MLB baseball and away from college, but kind of mix of both. But you were just evaluating. Like, you were just going and being. And the other cool part, this is the cool part about it, is the team that I worked with was non-baseball people. Was very like data analytics type guys that were just collecting numbers. And I was the baseball guy. So I was the one that had to dumb down where it's telling you, hey, this guy's throwing 90 miles an hour, but why is he good?
Right.
Like, just because he throws 90 miles an hour, why is he good? Like, and that's where
Kind of like Moneyball.
Because he paints like motherfucking Michelangelo.
Yeah, exactly. And he's athletic and, he's able to do things that other people can't do, whatever. So I get that. And then while I'm in Puerto Rico, I run into a former coach at American that was our pitching coach who's a scout. And he goes, hey, man, would you ever want to get into professional baseball? And I was like, yeah, if it presented, the right opportunity, like whatever it is, I'm in. And from there, like he called me 6 months later, maybe about 4 or 5 months later. He was like, hey, Nova Southeastern just hired a new coach, Laz Gutierrez. He's looking for a infield coach and to coach third base. No pay, strictly volunteer job. I said, all right, give me the number. So I sent him, I called the guy and I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm interested. I'm in town, would love to meet you in person. And then kind of like a week or two later, he was transitioning from his other job to here, and we met in person, and then I got the job New Year, like a week after New Year's. So here we are, right? I'm making money I had like a baseball academy just to kind of work with younger kids. I'm just, staying busy, but nothing concrete secure. But I wanted to coach at Nova. Like, I knew this was a really good opportunity that was going to open up doors to other opportunities.
You put together a baseball academy?
I did.
Wow.
Started with my nephew's 10-year-old team.
Okay.
That was a challenge. Man, you talk about patience. Like, those kids.
I love them. They're the best and they're the worst.
And then we went from there. I had a 11-year-old team, and then I ended up having 5 teams at one point, but I kind of went back down to 3 because it was just too much to manage.
What were you doing? Just fundamentals? Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, fundamentals, and we play in tournaments.
Oh, all right.
That's cool. Kind of like a little
you were doing a lot of like private training too, right?
I didn't. That's one thing I've never gotten into. I never, and not that I wouldn't enjoy it. It's just my time. Like, I wanted to use my time like being on the field and working with multiple kids than just spending an hour with one kid and getting, $30 to $50 for the session. Like, that didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
That was no gratification for me.
All right, let's go to Nova again. So
I go to Nova. So yeah,
opportunities. Yeah.
So I'm there, and at that time, I had started working 6 months, 8 months before, still doing the USA Baseball where I had some flexibility, but I got a full-time job at Priority One, which is a logistics company, like a third-party broker company where you're working with companies that are manufacturers and you're helping them distribute their products. Thank you. And it was great. Money was great. But again, if it's not your passion, it's not what fulfills you, like, it's just not it. And I was even presented with the opportunity to run the whole office, making a lot of money. And it was cool for about 2 months. And then I had a reality check of like, forget this. Like, I'd rather make less money.
I remember this.
Enjoying, what I'm doing and figure out the money later within like what I want to do. Like, that's going to come later. So I remember calling my boss. She actually just texted me, my former boss. And I remember calling him like, hey, I want you to know, like, I'm actually going to take the opportunity at Nova Southeastern. I appreciate the opportunity, but this is what I got to go do. So 4 months, this is the COVID year, I'm working at Nova Southeastern, not making a penny, living off of a little bit of money here with my small academy that I still had at the time, and then luckily Danae was doing really well with work.
Yeah.
And grinding, just figuring it out. But I knew what the goal was of trying to become a full-time coach and all that. So then that's how that started, where I was kind of working logistics. Well, pandemic hits, right? Now what? How the hell do you survive? I got bills to pay. We live in a brand new apartment. Like, I'm trying to figure all this out. And man, it's crazy to think about. My boss calls me, former boss calls me back. It was like, hey, like, you know, if we're going inside sales, would you want to, you know, work for us again? Like, you'll just have to start from scratch. You have to build your clientele, your book of business, everything from scratch. I was like, sure, I'll take it, because I needed money, needed income. And boom, I was skyrocketing. I was closing deals. Like, I was doing all that stuff. But baseball, all athletics, colleges, right? We were in lockdown. Everything was shut down. So we go back, let's say that's 8 months. We start to go back into practicing and going back to school on certain parameters and things like that. My boss says, all right, we're going to give it a try. You could do both. You can work in the morning, and then you go to baseball in the afternoons. So now I'm managing a clientele, having to meet sales expectations, having to meet numbers, having to meet, you know, forecasts and things like that. But also, I got to make sure I get these guys ready to go win games.
It's like two brains. You had to have two brains.
And when to manage both, and how to, like, shut one off and not let one slack.
And be a good husband, and you have a house. Like, man.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But I knew the only way I was going to be able to continue on that path to get to something like I am today was, like, I had to just do both. Like, I couldn't just, I mean, there's reality too, right? Let's not shy away from it. You got to pay the bills. Like, you have to find a way to take care of yourself. So I wasn't just going to take the Nova job and not do it. Like, I found a way to make it blend, and, you know, thank God that I was able to do it for 4.5 years, where I was still successful on the logistics side, where they didn't ask me questions and I met my expectations and my numbers, but then I was still accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish on the baseball field. And then it just got to a point, you know, to bring it back full circle, where you asked me earlier in the beginning of, like, is it mental or is it physical? Is it physical or mental? Like, what is it that, you know, how do they align? And, like, I was worn out. I was just broken down. And I was a bad husband. I was a bad friend. I was a bad person, because I just was grumpy. I was in a bad, and I say that because I didn't reach out, and I wouldn't just be the person I was. I was always focused on, oh, I got to close the deal, and I got to go to practice. Close the deal, go to practice. Close the deal, go to practice. Boom, 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 and maneuver that. Like, I didn't have time to do the other things. And then God hits you with another obstacle, right? The head coach at Nova, which we were on the path to build, we were building, right, a foundation. Everything that we're building, it was so exciting times at Nova, and I loved it. I was going to go full-time baseball. I was going to get paid a full-time salary. I was going to stop doing the logistics. Boom, boom. Hey, man, I'm going to University of Miami. I'm sorry. And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? That's a dream job. See ya. Like, I love you. Go do it. And he goes, and now I'm with a new staff and a new group of people and a new program, and how are things going to go? And then 5 months into that, which was this past fall, that's when somebody reached out and was like, hey, there's a job opening with the Cincinnati Reds. Do you want me to put your name in? Yeah, I'm in. Throw it in, and the rest is history.
Who is the somebody? Who is that guy?
So the softball coach at Nova's husband is a national cross-checker with the Seattle Mariners.
Okay.
And then him, and then Laz and Roque, and, you know, all these other guys in the baseball world, we all partnered together, and
you guys all talk to each other and whatnot. So you talked to the softball coach's husband.
Yep, and it was like, all right, let's get him in there.
Yeah, that's what networking. You know, that's literally about who you know. That's, at the end of the day, it's kind of, you just gotta be open to opportunities and talk.
And I know that was long-winded, but it's like it's been a journey to now get to a place where it's like now I feel the ship is kind of going, like, smooth and in the right direction.
Well, I think so. Going back to what you were talking about, and we'll start to wrap this up in a second. But going back to what you were talking about, that you were a bad husband, bad friend, all that stuff, I think by your own measures, you weren't the most Nick possible. And I think that's kind of because I didn't think you dropped off. I mean, George, you can talk on your own, but I think that in my mind, you were still talking, you were still present. We knew that you were just grinding. You were just hustling, and I don't think that had.
I get what he means, though. I mean, I could see that he was probably struggling with a lot of internal like thoughts and things of like he wasn't able to be his full self because his mind was being occupied by two things that were uphill battle, right? Like there was plenty of moments, and I spoke to Nick about it because we're both still here in South Florida, so we've always kept an open line, and I would go to the games. And he was fully transparent with me. He's like, man, like we're struggling this year, as a team, and like we have the talent, but we just don't have like the leadership, and that's like the toughest thing to garner, right? That's the toughest thing to have on a team is who's going to take the ranks as the players, and turn the culture around. So, as Nick, someone that's passionate about life and sports, like I could see that how that could take a toll on him of like. He takes that home with him, right? So he probably saw that affecting his dynamic with Danae and just friends and just his own life of how he sees himself and what he wants out of life, right? Because it's pretty apparent what he said time and time. I think one of the revolving themes was Nick's gonna grind, but if it's something he's not fully passionate about, or it's not hitting on all cylinders, like it's a struggle, right? Because there's a standard that he's used to, and it's also because he's just so passionate about something, he wants it to kind of reciprocate the time and effort he's putting into it. So, we had it was brief conversations, like I said, like after like games and stuff. They had a tough. There was plenty of games I went to where either it was a close game and it should have been a blowout, or they lost to a team that had no business losing to, and that can definitely take a toll on a coach, especially a hitting coach, right? If usually when a team's underperforming is because they're not getting runs, or they're not getting hits, or just the team's not clicking, So I can see what he's saying, and but you should be proud, Nick, that you were able to address that and reflect on that, but like Isaac says, on the outside looking in, it didn't seem as bad as what you had in your mind, right? But that's who he is, and I think that's a beautiful thing that he is attentive to that.
Yeah.
No, I think that's all of us. I always, for the past like year and a half, 2 years, I've always just thought about we suffer more in imagination than reality.
Yeah.
Good old Seneca. That's the truth. And we've talked about it, individually, but I think that our boys group, like the most something that we've grown into doing is like reaching out and being like, hey man, I feel like shit. You know what I mean? Like I think we've done, like I've reached out to George before just to talk and be like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling shitty. You know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things, that we're lucky, man. The older I get, the more I just look around and think, fuck, you guys don't have friends like this? I don't understand.
Yeah. Or even just the brief interjections of like, I'm going through a tough time, and then there's plenty of times in the group chat, like you, Isaac, or even Kyle or Nick is just, or sometimes Hugh is just like, man, this and this happened to me today. I'm just so grateful I got y'all boys. And then it kind of like removes you from your own situation, not to like forget about it, but to put in perspective of like, we're all going through our things, but to like, not that we even did anything. It's just the point that we have a group chat and we're willing to be present in each other's lives. That goes a long way. That definitely goes a long way. Like I said, if I'm going through a tough time and then I hear one of you is going through a tough time, but you're able to kind of find that safe haven of being like, we don't have to talk. It's just knowing that we're loved, like you have a support system. That's because it's hard for men to voice, the struggles we go through. Right. And
Pride.
peel back the layers of pride. And it's just what society puts upon us. But just those brief little, like, it goes a long way when you guys say love y'all boys,
Yeah.
Or you send like a really cool video, and it's like a lot of those videos you send, I probably saw it that same day earlier, and it's like, dang, like it resonated with somebody else.
Great memes. Also great memes.
Little wins,
Little
right?
wins. Literally,
Little
little wins.
wins.
Little wins.
One of our friends out here calls them small delights. Just look for the small delights every single day, bro. The new thing that I started doing probably like 6 months ago is I'll wake up, I'll say the Our Father prayer just so I can like start my day with just some sort of mantra that is positive,
Gratitude.
and then 5 things I'm grateful for. I say, and they could be the same thing every single day, and it usually is. It's usually like this bed, my wife, my dog, water, and food. I literally will say, or sun, it's whatever it is, just 5 things, just so I can be like, all right, I at least have 5 things that are cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, we're 5 things, we're okay. I got a bed, I got, we're good, we're okay. All right, let's start wrapping this up. Nick, I know that you've listened to every episode because you wouldn't stop hitting us up about coming on. So clearly
We made it.
You are addicted to Cafe Con Podcast, so you know how we wrap it up. But just in case you don't remember, I ask a question and then George asks a question. That's how we wrap it up. So my question has to do with the steel tissue. And I'll tell you what the steel tissue in my mind was. Because a tissue can wipe away a drop of blood or it can wipe away a tear. So what's the tear stand for? Vulnerability. What's the blood stand for? Resilience. So my question is, what are some moments in your life that have made you vulnerable and resilient? And it doesn't have to be anything deep. It can be whatever you want. Okay. Do you need me to give you the definitions of those words? Or are you okay?
Yes, please, while I keep thinking. No, just kidding. Damn. Vulnerability and resilience.
Yeah, because I think they go hand in hand in life in general.
Well, I mean, the resilience, I've used that word, when we were coaching at Nova. I mean, the resilience is just continuing to stay on the path, no matter if it's been good or bad, like, and not let anything deter you from that. And it's like, the grind is part of what it is. Like, the grind is, and I was going to say this a little while ago and you mentioned, but like, not to curse, but like, life's a bitch. Like, life's tough. Like, and if you don't have a little bit of resiliency, this life is going to eat you up and then you're going to be struggling. And I know maybe that's a little harsh for me to say that, but it's just the truth. Like, you have to have some sort of grit and resiliency to push every single day to something that you're trying to accomplish. So I think the resiliency, like, I've always had that. And the example would be going from a nobody in high school to getting a college scholarship to then becoming a good coach to then now becoming a professional scout to hopefully becoming the scouting director one day. Like, I think that's all part of the journey of a resiliency. Vulnerability. Man, that's a hard one. It doesn't have to be personal, or
it doesn't have to be personal. It can be anything you want. It can be personal, not personal, because you're a vulnerable ass motherfucker. Okay? So just anything. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be true.
Damn, that was hard. A vulnerable example. I would say, like, the time that I went through, like, just taking the leap when I was 25 years old with, call it what it is, an American girl from Cleveland, Ohio, like, I was about to say Cincinnati, from Cleveland, Ohio, moving down to South Florida, not knowing what the hell to expect, and then being back in an environment that I had not been in a long time. That, for those of you that don't know South Florida, that live in South Florida, like, we have everything. You got the beaches, you have the nightlife, you have the crazy fast pace, you have family, you have different cultures. Everybody is here. Like, there's a lot of exposure to things that you don't see in Greenville, Tennessee, in the mountains, right? For so long. So being back in that environment while also bringing somebody that I wanted to start a life with, and then reacquainting with my family, like, it was a disaster. It was a mess. And we were able to push through that. And I think that challenged me in a situation where I was like, all right, whoa, you're at a point that you don't know how to navigate through this. Like, you got to figure it out. And good or bad, like, it's going to kind of test you. And I think that was probably one of the most vulnerable spots that I think I've been in.
Truth. That I was hoping you were going to say something that involved her, because I think that is 100% true, bro. And that
That
girl,
was
she is unbelievable. I always tell you, don't mess it up. And I will tell you that until the day that
well,
we
like
die.
her brothers still to this day, and well, her whole family, but mainly the brothers, they still joke with me that I like, when is the bet like up? Because they say that I lost a bet to be dating.
I know. I remember them saying something similar, like, if anybody ruins it, it's going to be Danae. I go, no way.
No way.
All right.
Right.
You guys keep telling her that. We'll keep telling Nick that, and they'll stay together forever.
There we go.
So that's the reverse psychology. All right, George, go ahead and bring it home.
So basically along the same lines of what Isaac said, it doesn't have to be deep or profound unless you want it to be. It can be like how you're feeling in the moment based off this conversation or where you are in life. So it's fill in the blank. It is, my name is blank and I am blank.
My name is blank and I am blank.
Yep.
Fill in the blanks.
Okay. I was gonna joke with this earlier, but I'm not gonna joke with this.
Joke? Well, no, now you have
want.
to.
You can do whatever you want.
And you started with it after when you're like, "Oh, who is Nick Rodriguez?" I wanted to joke around and say Nick Rodriguez is the GOAT.
Yeah, that would also be a dumb joke. So I'm glad you didn't say that. That was a pretty dumb joke.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I know. Nick Rodriguez is
No. My name is blank and I am blank.
Correct.
Keep it that simple.
My name is Nick Rodriguez and I am inspirational.
There we go.
Question mark? I am
Inspirational.
Ron Burgundy?
God
Yes,
damn it.
you
You know
are,
he
bro.
reads everything that's on that prompter.
You are inspirational. 100%.
I would
Oh,
echo,
Nick,
you are correct, Nick, because you are inspirational.
100% inspirational. We've
You
told
are a
that so
light,
many
bro.
times.
Don't ever forget
Come
that.
on,
For
dog.
real.
100%. You're the best, dog. You know that.
You're the best.
And we joke with you because we love you.
Chupa
Okay,
Kang.
Nick, this is your time. We have that camera, and that camera for you to say anything you want to anybody. What do you want to say to people? You can promote that anything you want, or you can say anything you want. This is your time. Go ahead, say something.
Say something. Honestly, I'm glad I got to get on this because this podcast might be biased. It's about to take off. So if anybody is not listening to these guys, you have to listen to. No, but for real, no.
Stupid, bro.
I just want to. If there's anything I could say is, man, life isn't easy. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work, and I seriously mean that. Like, I see people and I hear people and I see the surroundings of the world that we're in now, and like, everybody wants everything easy and like just hand it to them. Like, nobody knows how to just grind and put your head down. And I hope that I can at least maybe inspire somebody on the call today, or somebody that I come across probably later when I go for a walk, of like, hey man, like, challenge yourself, like, get out of whatever funk you're in, or whatever obstacle you're getting thrown at, and like, just make the best out of today and figure out tomorrow when you wake up. And like, so if that's something I could portray, because I've been thinking about that a lot. That's all I got.
Hell yeah.
Damn, I needed to hear that. That was amazing. Love you,
Love
Bob.
you, bro.
That was
Hey, man.
incredible. And in case, I don't know if you knew this, but in case you didn't know this, Nick, just
know.
in case.
This is the Cafe con Podcast.
Oh, damn. I didn't do that the whole episode. That was the only time I did it. That was perfect. Love you guys. Mwah, I love you.
This is the Cafe con Podcast.